Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legacy Lawyers podcast. I am Nathan Croxford, your host, with my guest today, Taylor Stone.
Hey, everybody.
Taylor, always a pleasure to podcast with you, sir.
You too, man.
And just, I know we don't do much with video, but I don't know if I should reveal a t shirt or just let them. I mean, for that matter, people are going to be looking at yours and going, what is that? So
Yeah,
maybe we just give a quick explanation of our t-shirts
sure. You can do
for
yours
anybody that
first.
eventually sees this on video.
Right. Nathan has a very stylish band tee, as
So this
always.
is a this is my one of my favorite bands. It's called The National, and that is a bunny sticking out of a alcoholic beverage drink glass. And it's there's a song by The National. If you're fans, you'll already know what it is, but called Pink Rabbits. And a pink rabbit is a drink that is made with tequila, Kahlua, and strawberry quick powder. What
Sounds
is your shirt, Taylor? Because
mine on, I guess, a more PG rated. This is actually a T-shirt that I made for our firm for one of our activities. And yes, we have like this level of crazy fun when
yeah,
we're trying to get
so
something.
so Taylor's a. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but Taylor's an insanely good artist. Has actually gone to art festivals and sold his work for good money.
Yeah. Mhm.
That T-shirt is a pickleball activity that we had, and that is my law partner Michael Haslam and myself
Mhm.
drawn up as pickleball paddles. And then there's a bunch of words in the background that
Yeah.
are kind of unique to our law firm. So
Right. And little deep cuts for all of us, and kind of the
yeah, it's cool. It's
little
cool.
something
So
personal for all of us.
so if you're wondering what these crazy cool T-shirts are that we're wearing, that's what they are.
Right.
So back to the matters at hand, Taylor. I've had a question coming up from clients in the last couple of months, and everybody wants to know the same thing. And I haven't known the answers very well until today. But can you guess what they're asking about?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they're like any of the other people that I've been chatting with, it's probably going to be some of those Trump accounts,
Yeah,
right?
baby.
Let's
Yeah.
start. Let's start investing to the old Trump account and see what that all does for us. I mean, since what was it, July? Yeah, July of this year. That's when 4th of July. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when we could actually start contributing to them. There was a 1 year kind of standoff to make sure that everything was in place, so then they could be contributed to. But now it's kicked off and it's running.
Yeah. So this was part of the one big beautiful bill that
Right.
passed in July of 25. And as you said, July 4th of 2026, people could start opening those things.
Right. And
And
something I'd
just,
actually like to go over there, Nathan, is something that we wanted to try and do for all of you, just faithful listeners out there, or if you're first time listeners, we wanted to actually try and do something maybe a little bit different. I think we've maybe done something like this in the past, but with what's at least been presented to us, Nathan had said off the air that because this is so new, even though it's 1 year, because we've just started to implement all of this and we're just now able to do contributions, there's still a lot that's up in the air that we don't know. So we will present to you today what it is that we do know. And then something that's really cool, I think, is that we're going to compare these Trump accounts to kind of your more standard things here in Utah, like your My 529, which is a 529 account for education, and also the UTMA, something not a lot of people talk about either, which is the Uniform Transfer to Minors Act account. And we're
yeah,
going
and
to
it's
compare these.
actually not Utah specific. Pretty much every state, I think, has a 529.
Yeah, I guess it's
And
the My 529. That's what Utah calls them, right?
yeah, right. So 529s are, and you don't have to live in the state where you can pick a 529 from any state to open. And just to be clear, nothing that we're going to talk about here today is tax advice or financial advice or legal advice. This is edutainment, as I like to call it.
Maybe they got that from when we were talking about our T-shirts for the first 2 minutes there.
I think they got that right. That we definitely are entertaining. I'm just going to declare that because we are, but we're also educational. So we edutain, and that's what we're doing today. But please seek your own legal and tax and financial advice from qualified professionals wherever you might be. And if you would like to work with us, we will give you a way to contact us. Voyantlegal.com is going to be your best resource for that. But with that, let's start with the basics. What is a Trump account?
For sure. So legally, where this is, and I'm sure some of our noble listeners out there, right? They're wanting to actually know where this falls in the tax code, and the code is actually 530A.
Yeah, and I'm
530.
sure you can hear the pages flipping in the IRS code, like
Thank goodness. Thank goodness they're giving us the citation this time, right? So
just
this one actually we will have a couple of citations. So you're welcome, right?
yeah.
So this is actually where it came out for the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right? Is under this 530A. It was
Mm-hmm.
signed back in July 2025, and again, they actually didn't open for contributions until this year. And so, what are they? Underneath that specific code is it actually says right there that it's a lot like, and in fact, as you're kind of trying to conceptualize it, it actually is a lot like a retirement account, at least
It's
when the
like a
kids turn
traditional
18.
IRS.
Like your kind of more traditional IRA that they find under 408A in the Internal Revenue Code. Yeah, this
You
might
keep
go on
feeding
longer.
them those. You keep feeding them those.
Right. So it needs to be looked. You need to look at it kind of in that way, and I think that will help you understand it a little bit better.
Well, and really, it's not being treated as a new type of account. They just said, for all intents and purposes, this is a traditional IRA.
Mhm.
But it's one that can be open for a child under 18, and if they were born in qualifying time frames, there's going to be some seed money, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's that. So think about like a traditional IRA that maybe but extends before you're actually in your working years. Remember, a traditional IRA, the way that usually works, whether it's Roth or so your traditional IRA, it's when you're working, it's your income that's coming in, and that's what you're using to create your retirement account, right?
Yeah, you're putting
However,
some in, your employer's maybe matching 401k.
yeah, for your 401k when we're starting to think about retirement accounts. Imagine that though, but it goes back to when you were born. And children who were born from 1 January 2025 to December 31st, 2028. Those are the time frames. Okay.
Well, those are the
Children
time frames for getting the seed
for
money, right?
seed money, exactly, right? So
Any
any
child under 18 with a social security number can open it.
There it is. Exactly. So, yep, let's make sure that that's clear. It's the seed money for children who were born 1 January 2025 to 31 December 2028. You're getting seed money. And how much is that seed money, Nathan?
$1,000
$1,000. $1,000 going into this retirement account that's set up for your
pre-tax.
children, right? But like you said, like you well said, any children presently who are under the age of 18 in this year, this calendar year, they would be able to also start these accounts. I have a whole pile of children. Everybody who knows that, I have
The
six,
pebbles,
the pebbles, right? The
we
stone
call them
kids
the pebbles. The stone children are called pebbles, and I think there's like 17 of them.
on a good day, right? The number varies,
Yeah,
right? My wife just makes sure that all of them are still being fed. That's all
yeah.
that I know, right? Like
Okay.
I'm at work all day.
It's a lot
But
of Trump accounts.
they can all get these Trump accounts, right? So all of them. So children
Were
under the
any of
age
the pebbles are any of the pebbles eligible for seed money?
none, none. Yeah, our
You missed
youngest,
that
she's
window.
yeah, exactly. Our youngest is going into first grade this year, as she's reminded me this week because school started this week. Everybody, woo!
But producer Lot, who's on but probably won't chime in here, producer Lot has some children that are going to qualify for seed money.
Hmm. Yeah, and so it's kind of giving a cool opportunity for a lot of people to get. Really, it's just this free money, $1,000 deposit that's being held to this account. However, Nathan, so we have this account. Let's say that we're going to use our producer Lot. He says, "Hey, I'm going to set up one of these accounts for my child who was born this year."
Hmm.
The government puts in that seed money. Now, under the age of 18, can he touch that money? What can he do?
No.
No, no. Under the regulation, he can't touch it at all. I think that there's one qualifying example, and I want to really dive into this. Right? That's what you guys are wanting us to do. We're diving into it. There is a reason why you can access these funds, and it's if the child passes away.
I interpret that as, can producer Lot dig in and use that money for his own purposes? No.
No, no, exactly.
But
That
yeah,
newborn is not digging in doing anything right now, other than hopefully eating and sleeping. Right.
yeah.
So you can't access, and children under the age of 18, in fact, families, no one can actually access those funds while from birth to 18. They can't touch it at all, right? Unless that child passes away, right? But like for every other reason, you just can't access it. Some people often think, well, I have an IRA. Sure, I'll get a penalty and some of those things. I'll have to pay the taxes, but I can access it. With these, he can't,
Hmm.
right? So imagine for producer Lot, they would have to hold on to those funds, or they would stay in this account until that child is 18. But is it staying
Well,
at that just $1,000 a month, Nathan, or is it actually growing?
no, well, it's growing, and hopefully you have people contributing, which brings us to the question of how much can be deposited into one of these accounts as of this year.
Yeah, as of this year, you can contribute, and by you, I mean all contributions that are going into this, to include the seed money or any of that, up to 5,000.
This could be parents, grandparents, friends, strangers, neighbors.
Right. There's even, and I know that this might kind of go back and forth, but even employers can contribute to some of these.
So the Pebbles, they're all working in a sweatshop somewhere in Utah County, right?
Well, no, we never
Okay.
talk about the Pebble Sweatshop.
Okay.
Come on,
Okay.
man.
Sorry.
How do you
Sorry.
think we
Sorry.
make these great shirts? Jeez.
Sorry.
No, this is if, say that, my employer, Voyant Legal, if they wanted to contribute to the Pebbles,
Gotcha.
right? They say, hey, Taylor, we are going to contribute up to $2,500 each year that they could contribute to these accounts.
To your children's Trump accounts.
Right. I believe there might be, a tax benefit for them. In fact, I think it's that the business itself would be able to receive a tax benefit for it. Again, by all means, do your own research. Reach back out to us if you found that if it was something that actually was able to happen for you.
Yes. Okay. What else do we need to know?
So let's see. We already talked about you can contribute to it for that child's entire life, right? You can keep contributing to it, and it will grow. There's a lot of that growth. So imagine this is the idea: is that you have an account that's just growing for these children. However, when we get to the age of 18, people think maybe, oh, well, then I should be able to pull it out, right? Can't touch it before 18, then I should pull it out.
No.
Well, can
No.
they, Nathan? I mean, can you pull those funds out? It's now that child's 18.
No, except for some of the same reasons that you can pull money out of an IRA.
Yeah, and you said,
Qualified educational expenses is what you're talking about?
well, it's the fact that can you pull it out? Sure, but you have to
Oh,
think it's like an IRA, right? Should you
penalties,
pull it out?
taxes. No.
Yeah, there it is, right?
Okay.
So now it's going to be viewed as that income. It's going to inflate your tax bracket. It's going to do all of those things, right? This isn't just money now that I can use. It's not
And
like
you're going to get age related penalties because you're not 59 and a half.
there it is. Yep, exactly. That's why we want to make sure that our listeners are understanding. It even says under the code, this is supposed to be like an IRA. It's supposed to be like an individual retirement arrangement or an individual retirement account. That really you get the maximum benefits when you pull it out at 59 and a half or above
Mhm.
59 and a half. And you're able to pull those funds out. And again, but what does that do? It's treated like income. You're taxed on it for income. If you pull it out before 59 and a half, what happens, Nathan?
All goes as in ordinary income tax on your tax return, and you're going to get a 10% withdrawal penalty unless you fit into one of these exceptions that I mentioned.
Yeah,
You're
yeah. And
using
that
it for, no, go ahead.
so really you look at it, okay, well if I pull it out early, I'm going to get hit that it's like income. Great. So then it's like I'm receiving this as income. But then I'll get that 10% hit as well on the amount that I'm pulling out, an extra 10% that I'm having to pay. But that 10% can be waived for certain reasons. And it's kind of like those reasons are if I'm using it for education, if I'm using it for, I believe it's more
Qualified
student.
education,
Say that again.
qualified educational
Yeah.
expenses, not
Oh,
just,
qualified.
you don't get to sign up for a basket weaving class at the local community college and or
It's
community.
true. So it would have to be qualified education. Purchase of a home, I believe, up to $10,000.
Not just any home, the first time purchase.
First time, there it is. Yeah, qualifiers for all of these things, right? There's also for some medical expenses for all of these things. Again, it's there's exceptions to all of this that you're being pulled out. But again, it's just that the only thing that that's doing is if you fall into one of those categories, you're just removing the 10% penalty.
You're
That's all
still
that
going to,
is.
yeah, you're still going to have to report it as ordinary income.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're still having to file taxes for it, right? At the end of that year, that hey, I received this much in income. So make sure that you're aware of that. This isn't just a cool bank account that's just growing, and then all of a sudden you're just getting this money out. Let's make sure that at the very least our listeners understand that. Tell your friends that no, you need to think about this maybe in a little bit different
Well,
way. This is more like a retirement account.
it's not a 529, meaning that
Mm-mm.
if it comes out for qualified education expenses, there's no penalty, but out of a 529, there's also no taxes. That's not how this
Yeah.
works.
Let's maybe start our first comparison then, Nathan. I think we've kind of found the edges of these Trump accounts that they're set up just really like a retirement account. There's some seed money that can be put in there if your children were born 2025 to 2028. Otherwise, it just builds for all children who are under the age of 18. When they get to the age of 18, then it's just continuing to build for them like a retirement account. They can contribute to it up to that $5,000 every year. They can pull it, but again, penalties as well as all the other rules that are associated with
So
withdrawing early from a retirement account.
before you jump into your first comparison, I think we missed one thing, and that is what types of investments can be selected inside of the Trump account
Ooh,
prior to the child turning 18 and then after the child turns 18.
that is actually a really great question there, Nathan. There's it's so typically these accounts they're actually supposed to be tied to, and this is what you would see is that they would be tied to um,
They need to be in
low cost index funds. That these are they're tracking with the S&P 500, similar to like the U.S. index funds. Again, slow growth. I can't go in when under the age of 18. Maybe some people are thinking, well, great, it's already at least money in there. I'm going to put this in on some favored stocks or something like
I'm going to
that.
go buy 100% Nvidia and roll with it. Can't do that. I'm curious because I'm not sure exactly how this works from a mechanical standpoint, but maybe as we open one of these or producer law opens one, I'm curious how it's going to work. I'm guessing that when you go in, you'd probably have three or four suitable options that you could pick from. They're all going to look very similar. They're all going to be very conservative
Mm-hmm.
index funds that are going to track like one of the big indexes like the S&P 500. So I'd be curious how that works. Again, that's the fun thing about these is when you have a new product or a new program or situation like this where something gets created and implemented, there's a lot of questions surrounding it. And until it rolls out and you actually see how it works, you kind of don't get a feel for exactly how it's going to look. But as we get down the road here this year, we're going to get a lot more clarity. The other thing that happens is the IRS usually takes about a year or so to like finalize all the rules around it. So there's usually some refinements. I'm sure we'll come back and revisit in a subsequent episode what those contours look like as we see them change.
For sure. Well, and especially too when we're looking at all these things together, that's why I think we wanted to structure this podcast the way that we did because we want to show you at least what we understand now from these accounts, how they compare to these others that people are maybe a little bit more familiar with. And then when we do this, this next podcast, maybe, down the road a little bit when we were understanding a little bit better, then we'll be able to do the same kind of comparison and compare and contrast kind of how things have changed. Maybe they're the same.
Good. Let's jump into your comparison.
Sure. So a 529, can you walk through just real briefly for everybody, Nathan, what is a 529?
It's a college savings account. It's a place that you and other family members can make contributions to the future educational costs of a child.
Yeah. Mhm.
And like we said, it's pre tax money that's going in. It's coming out only for qualified educational expenses, without penalties and without being treated as ordinary income.
Yeah, and that also is in the growth too. That's kind of a big deal too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making contributions to this plan, to the 529 for one of the pebbles, right? It's going into this account. It's growing then. It's just growing here in the market. And when I go to pull these funds out, great. I know that the money that I've put in, maybe that's not going to be taxed, but maybe on the growth. No, all of it can be used as long as it's being used for those educational purposes. No additional taxes, no additional fees, anything like that. Be
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Mhm. Something else too for these accounts that are created here in Utah that I was alluding to earlier, the My 529 plan. They also you're given for the contributions that you're putting in. You're actually given a tax credit for the state taxes when you're putting those payments in. You're actually given a 4.5 for the amounts that you're putting into that account. You're actually getting that back from your state taxes. Pretty cool. Like that's what you're at least getting under Utah for their My 529 plans. That's what they're called.
Tax credits rock. Like they're better than deductions because they're not percentages of what's contributed. It's like a dollar for dollar credit off of your tax bill.
Yeah, it's actually just dollars off of my tax bill. Oh, I'm owing this much. Cool. I'm going to add that credit on top. Boop. Now it's just
Yep.
this lower amount, that kind of a thing.
Yep.
For the My 529 plan, I mean, if you look into these are really pretty cool set up here under the great state of Utah. My goodness, thank you, Utah, for being so great. And you can actually split that between multiples. So if I'm contributing to multiples of the pebbles, right, there's a certain amount that I can contribute each year, and I'm giving tax credits that can kind of combine on all those. There's limitations on all this, of course, right? But those can all be built between all of them. So I can get tax credits for all those to go against my state taxes. So pretty cool. Want to build those.
And those have the same contribution limit right now as the Trump accounts per
Yeah, so
child,
they're
right?
yeah, so they're actually kind of cool that way. It actually just has to do, and I'd have to dive in a little bit more to see how much you can actually contribute to them. But I just know that it's for the tax credit. You're only given that tax credit up to a certain amount, right? But as far as how much you can contribute, I'm not sure. Other than yeah, you might have to wait, and we'll do a little research, and we'll be able to find an answer for you.
I bet. I bet inside of 30 seconds I can know that. What is
Well, but
the
in the meantime, let me
limit?
kind of walk through real quick kind of this comparison. So, 529 plans stood up against one of these Trump accounts. Well, you can already see from kind of that disclaimer we said at the beginning how these are different, right? Because with the 529 plan, I can use that for educational purposes. My child turns 18, 21, they're going to college. I can pull funds from that and use it for their education. And I'm not getting hit on fees, right? I'm not getting hit on extra taxes or anything like that for a 529. Now, again, if I try to do in the exact same scenario with that Trump account, well, maybe I'll lose that 10%, right? Because I'm using it for educational purposes when my child's over the age of 18. But in the meantime, I'm still going to get hit with that income tax. That, hey, I was able to use those funds, but next year I'm going to have to pay that had come in as income for my tax bracket. So that's kind of a comparison between the two. If I'm saving money for education, 529 I think still is a little bit of a stronger tool for that.
Yeah,
With
for
little
sure.
pebbles trying to move forward.
Yeah, I was way off. There's no federal limit
Mhm.
to what you can
That's what I
contribute to
thought.
a 529. There is only really the gift tax, the annual gift tax exclusion amount that comes into play. So
Yeah.
$19,000 per donor can go in, but I think they are capped at 600K.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is that you can't go above like $600,000 over time. Like, and I think that that's how much you contribute. I don't think that also includes how much they're increasing in value over time
Yeah,
too.
not the growth.
So this is just up to $600,000 in contributions over the time of having a 529.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's. What do you think, Nathan? Does that kind of make the comparison pretty well between the two? And do you like me doing this gesture? I think this gesture is the one that's winning, right? Like this is it. No, I think it gets there. I can imagine Nathan's going to go to like a national concert. He's going to be like,
There you go.
"This is the dance.
That's how I
This is
always
the
look.
529 to 20 count." Yes.
And people are looking at me going, "Are those the rabbit ears? What are you doing?"
Right. So I think bottom line between the two, if you're going to be saving for educational purposes, 529 it just makes a little bit more sense, right?
Mhm.
Maybe not necessarily one of those Trump accounts.
Yeah, but
You'd get that
this is
seed money, great.
still a great way to get a retirement account started for a child.
Mhm. Yeah, no question on that for sure, right? So as long as you understand that like that's my purpose is I'm going to do that, then maybe that the Trump account, maybe that would work a little bit
Hmm.
better in that way, right? And can you use those Trump accounts for education like we said?
You
Yeah,
can.
likely, right? And that might even remove that 10% fee, still viewed as income though. So again, but just hey, multiple streams, right? Get as much
Yeah.
funds for education as possible.
All
All
right.
right.
So
How about
then,
the UTMA accounts, Nathan?
yeah, the Utah Uniform Transfers to Minors Act accounts. I don't. Do you see a lot of these?
Those are kind of interesting accounts. I know we've done quite a few for individuals who like, hey, we
Or
got a
inheriting
settlement.
money? That's
Settlement is for
yeah.
inherited money. Needs to go
Or
for a child that maybe they lost both parents,
a
right?
personal injury claim or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they say, okay, well, this now has to go into this account. All that account really is just kind of like great savings account. Can't be can't be accessed by the child or that child until they're 21. Then they have kind
Yeah.
of free reign on it after 21. And then in the meantime, those funds though can be used for the child and they have to be used for that child.
Yeah, and the money prior to that age 21 is handled by a custodian. So they're basically a custodial account. A custodian manages the money for the minor
Mm-hmm.
during that time frame.
Right. If there is any growth on that account, I mean, I usually imagine these UTMA accounts. They're just kind of like, I mean, that if it's just in a bank account or anything like that, are they taxed on any of the growth that's in there? Yes. Doesn't have this tax-free growth, kind of like you'd see with at least the 529 or the tax-deferred growth that you'd see in the Trump account or any of those other accounts. So you are taxed on this, just kind of right out. But I mean, the advantage to that though is that before the age of 18, these funds can be used. Absolutely pull those funds out. You can use them for that child.
Yeah, they're more of a it's more of a savings account, and it's
Yeah.
with the view of it can be used for really anything.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anything the
exactly.
custodian feels is important for for their upbringing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For that beneficiary, for that child.
Yeah.
And so really it's kind of like, hey, then again, stacked against those Trump accounts. UTMA account, it just holds the funds. You're taxed on the growth for sure, but you can use it for whatever, right? Well, whatever for that child, as long as the custodian believes that it would be for the benefit of that child.
So not it's like I said, more of a an account you would plan to use on a fairly regular basis than a long-term horizon retirement style account or a college savings account.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right?
So I guess the question is if I'm a well, the question for you and producer Lot is you now have this menu of options in front of you of things you could do, types of accounts you could open. What are you going to do?
Great question. You know what? Looking at this, kind of having done my research, looking at this a little bit more, I think it all comes down to like for all of our clients, depends on what I want the outcome to be. What do I want for my kids? What do I want for the Pebbles? I
What's it going to
think
be
that,
used for, right?
right, I'm going to continue to contribute to 529s for the Pebbles as much as I can. My couple of shekels every month to be able to throw in for them. But and maybe if there's a little bit more of a windfall, maybe I'd spread it out a little bit more. But then also when I think about retirement though, what a great boon to be able to say, hey, we've also been contributing to this retirement account for you under these Trump accounts, right? Maybe we don't get the seed money, but this is an account we can just always throw money into. And hey, it's kind of a fire and forget for at least the next several years for a lot of the Pebbles. And so I just think, hey, just a great place that I could put in funds. So then when they get to be 18, I can say, look, we also started this retirement account for you. You're being provided for. You're going to be able to be helped out in some way. It allows us to diversify, right? Do we
Yeah.
have to just pick one? No. Mm-mm.
You could open all three.
Yeah. And I mean, if that makes sense to you, then yeah, I mean, you might as well try, right? The UTMA accounts, those ones, I think less so. Just
I don't see, unless they have some inheritance coming to them or money that is specifically theirs that other people are not allowed to touch or use, then that's going to be the best use for a UTMA account.
yeah, there really just seems like there's just other better vehicles in place to be able to do a lot of the things that you're wanting to, other than maybe that UTMA account, other than the
Mm-hmm.
circumstance you've already identified. So I mean, it's options. It's just options, and there's really none of this preclusion from having to do one or over the others or any of those kinds of things. But I
Yeah.
think for the Pebbles planning for their future, hey, as many options as I can get, I'm taking them, man.
Well, and if you have the option to get some seed money, you don't, but producer
Yep.
Lot does. I think that's a no brainer. You should go get that $1,000.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, might as well. Even if in the end, at 18, they have $1,000 with whatever the interest was on top of that over the next 18 years. Great,
Yep,
right? It's just built. It's just providing. Fantastic, right? Any kind of a head start is better than where we all started, huh, Nathan?
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Nathan, I
Anything
think that's
else?
what was that?
Anything else?
No, I think that hits it all. We've talked about kind of what these accounts are. We've talked about them in comparison to some of these others, and we got to laugh about our cool shirts. I think that's pretty much a wrap for us.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today and for listening. You can find our podcast on any high quality podcasting platform. So, Spotify, Apple, any of those, you can find us on those platforms. So please, if you found any value in today's episode, or if you know anybody that could benefit from it, please share it. We would appreciate that. And we look forward to catching you on the next one.
Yep. All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Legacy Lawyers with Michael Haslam and Nathan Croxford. We give you the juicy detail of cases that our law firm has dealt with. We take out the lawyer talk and legalese and show you what options some of our clients had to choose from to fix their situation. The effects of not doing planning can be devastating. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hook up with us on Facebook and Instagram at Voyant Legal. Call us at 801-951-0500 or send us an email at team@voyantlegal.com. And for commonly asked questions, hit voyantlegal.com/resources. We'll see you next time.